If anyone had told Corporal Elias Ward that the most dangerous moment of his life would begin with holding an alien girl's hand, he would have laughed. But he wasn't laughing now. The battlefield was quiet in the worst possible way. Not peaceful. Not calm. Quiet like something was watching and waiting to decide if he was worth killing. The sky above the broken valley flickered with dying plasma trails. Human ships burned in the distance like falling stars that never made wishes come true. Elias moved carefully through the wreckage, rifle low, med-scanner blinking red. His unit was gone. Scattered. Maybe dead. Maybe worse. The alien assault had been precise, surgical. Not wild destruction. Strategic annihilation. And then he heard it. A sharp inhale. Not human. He turned fast, rifle raised. She was half buried beneath twisted alloy plating. Tall. Pale silver skin streaked with dark violet blood. Her armor was shattered at the thigh, and her leg was bent in a direction that no living creature should tolerate. One of them. A Vilari. The species that had pushed humanity to the edge of extinction in just 6 months. Her glowing eyes snapped toward him. Even injured, they burned with defiance. Her hand moved weakly toward a blade at her hip. Elias aimed directly at her chest. For a long second, neither moved. The wind howled across the valley like a warning. He could end it now. One shot. One less enemy. Instead, he lowered the rifle. "Your leg is shattered," he said calmly, activating his med-scanner. "If I don't set it, you'll bleed out internally." The universal translator struggled, then processed his words. Her lips moved. The translation flickered in his earpiece. "Human, finish it." He shook his head. "Not my job." He stepped closer. She tried to slash at him, but pain overtook her. Her blade clattered uselessly to the stone. Elias knelt beside her. Up close, she didn't look like a monster. She looked young. Terrified. Trying not to show it. Her blood shimmered faintly, reacting to oxygen differently than human blood. The med-scanner displayed unfamiliar anatomy. Dual bone layering. Bioluminescent nerve threads. "Of course you're complicated," he muttered. She stared at him with hatred. "Why?" she demanded weakly. He removed his gloves. "Because humans fix things. Even when those things try to kill us." Her breathing hitched. He examined the fracture. It was bad. Compound. Bone exposed. Internal fiber rupture. "This will hurt," he warned. "Good," she whispered. He positioned his hands carefully. And then he pulled. The bone snapped back into alignment with a sickening sound. She screamed. Not a warrior's battle cry. Not rage. Pure pain. But she didn't pull away. Instead, her hand shot out and grabbed his wrist. Hard. Her grip was shockingly strong for someone losing blood. Elias froze. Their eyes locked. There was something in her expression now. Not hatred. Fear. And something else. "Stay," the translator rendered softly. He swallowed. "I'm not going anywhere." He injected rapid heal stabilizer foam along the fracture. Human tech was designed for battlefield miracles. The gel expanded, sealing vessels, fusing bone temporarily, reducing shock. She trembled violently, but she didn't release him. Even when the worst passed. Even when her breathing slowed. Even when survival was no longer uncertain. She kept holding his hand. Minutes passed. The valley remained eerily still. "You can let go," he said gently. Her fingers tightened. "No." The word came clearly this time. No translation glitch. No delay. Just refusal. He studied her face. Vilari were raised to despise humans. Both species had been fed decades of lies before the war ever began. Yet here she was. Clinging to the enemy she was taught to slaughter. "Why?" he asked quietly. Her glowing eyes flickered. "Because you did not choose death." Elias felt something shift inside his chest. He glanced toward the horizon. Smoke plumes marked where his battalion had stood hours ago. "We're not what you think we are," he said. She looked at him long and hard. "Neither are we." A distant tremor rolled through the ground. Not thunder. Not artillery. Something larger. Elias activated his scanner. Massive energy signatures were approaching. Not human. Not Vilari. Something else entirely. Her eyes widened as she sensed it too. "Scavengers," she breathed. He frowned. "Define scavengers." "World eaters." That was not comforting. The ground cracked as something enormous moved beneath the surface. Elias stood, pulling her gently upright. She winced but stayed balanced, still gripping his hand. "You can walk?" he asked. "Not alone." He hesitated only a second. Then he slung her arm over his shoulder. "Good thing you're not alone." Behind them, the earth exploded upward as a colossal biomechanical creature tore through the surface, drawn by heat and life. Its many limbs snapped outward like metallic spears. Elias didn't look back. He ran. And the alien who was supposed to be his enemy ran with him, still holding his hand. And for the first time in this war, neither of them felt entirely alone. Elias ran until his lungs burned and his boots felt like they were filled with molten sand. The broken valley behind him roared with tearing stone and metal shrieks, like the planet itself had found a voice and wanted revenge. The Vilari beside him, still gripping his hand like it was the last anchor in the universe, moved with stubborn determination, dragging her injured leg through pain that should have knocked her unconscious. The ground bucked again. A spine of black alloy erupted ahead of them, slicing through the soil like a shark fin through water. Elias skidded to a stop. The World Eater didn't move like a beast. It moved like a machine that had learned hunger. Its surface looked grown, not built, layers of dark plating stitched with pale veins that pulsed in rhythm, almost like a living heartbeat. When it turned, its many eyes opened and closed in waves, scanning, tasting the air with light. It didn't roar. It simply calculated. The Vilari hissed, her ears twitching wildly. "It follows heat," she said, voice tight. "And movement. And fear." Elias glanced at her. "How do you know that?" Her grip tightened, as if the answer hurt. "Because the Vilari used them." Elias felt his stomach drop. "You brought these things here." "No," she snapped. "Not my unit. Not me. But our high command. They seeded worlds with sleepers. They wake when war makes enough noise." Elias stared at the shifting ground, the fins circling, hunting. "So the aliens didn't just invade," he muttered. "They turned the planet into a trap." Her eyes flickered with something like shame. "War makes monsters. We simply opened the cage." Elias swallowed hard and looked around. The valley was a graveyard of machines and bodies. Broken drones. Melted armor. A half-crashed human transport, its side ripped open like a can. Beyond that, jagged ridges and scattered boulders. And above them, nothing. No friendly signals. No comms. Only static. He tightened the strap of his rifle and pulled her closer behind a slab of shattered plating. "We need cover," he said. "And we need cold." She stared at him. "Cold." He nodded. "If it hunts heat, we stop being heat." That earned him a sharp look, like she didn't expect him to think. He almost smiled. Almost. A tremor shook the ground again. The fin drifted closer, carving a smooth trench in the soil. Elias scanned the area quickly. His eyes landed on the crashed transport. Its hull still smoked, but parts of it were intact, especially the cargo compartment, which was lined with emergency thermal foam and insulation. He pointed. "That ship. We get inside, seal it, kill our heat signature." "And then?" she asked. "And then we get lucky," he said. "Or we get smart." They moved low and fast, keeping to the shadows of debris. Every step made Elias think of the monster beneath them, listening through the soil like it was a giant ear. The alien limped, face pale, but she did not release his hand. Not once. Even when he offered his shoulder again, she took it while still holding him, as if letting go might make the universe break. They reached the transport and slipped through the torn side. Inside, the air smelled of burnt wiring and spilled fuel. The walls were coated in thermal gel, designed to keep survivors alive in harsh climates. Elias grabbed a canister and sprayed a thick layer over the torn opening. It expanded, hardening into a dull, insulated seal. The Vilari watched with an expression that mixed disbelief and curiosity. "You seal with foam." "Human foam," he corrected. "Our greatest weapon." For the first time since he met her, she made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was small and rough and surprised, like her throat didn't remember how. Elias moved deeper into the transport, searching compartments. He found a shattered medical crate, half crushed. Most of the supplies were ruined, but there were a few cold packs, a roll of bonding tape, and an emergency power cell. He held up the cold packs. "Perfect." He slapped one against his own chest under the armor, then pressed another against hers, careful around her injury. She flinched at the cold, then let out a slow breath. "You plan like a scavenger," she said. He shrugged. "Humans survive like scavengers. We call it improvising." The transport creaked. Somewhere outside, the World Eater moved past, the ground vibrating like distant thunder. Elias lowered his voice. "What's your name?" She hesitated, then answered. "Serin." "Serin," he repeated. "I'm Elias." She studied him closely. "Why did you not kill me, Elias?" He paused. The real answer was complicated. Because he was tired. Because killing had become too easy. Because her fear had looked too human. Because she had asked him to stay. Instead, he said the simplest truth. "Because you were hurt." Serin's eyes softened slightly, then hardened again like she was afraid of what softness meant. Outside, the vibration stopped. The silence that followed was worse. Elias checked the small sensor panel near the cockpit. Most of it was dead, but a single line of text blinked faintly, auxiliary signal detected. His heart jumped. "That's human." He traced the signal. It was weak, pulsing every 12 seconds, like an emergency beacon on low power. Not far. But going out there meant heat, movement, risk. Serin noticed his focus. "What is it?" "A beacon," he whispered. "Could be survivors." Her ears twitched. "Or bait." Elias nodded. "Yeah." They sat in the darkness. The foam seal held. The cold packs numbed their heat. Their breaths came slow. Then Serin's hand squeezed his again, gentle this time. Not desperate. Almost trusting. Elias looked down at their hands. Human skin against alien skin. Different temperatures. Different worlds. One war. "What happened to you out there?" he asked softly. Serin's jaw tightened. For a moment, Elias thought she would refuse. Then she spoke like she was pushing words through glass. "My unit was ordered to capture a human engineer. Alive." Her eyes flickered with old fear. They said he carried a device that could wake the sleepers early. Or shut them down. We did not believe it. Elias felt his blood chill. An engineer with a device. She nodded. "We found him. But he was already dying. He laughed at us. He said, humans build keys for cages they did not know existed." Elias swallowed. "And?" Serin's voice dropped. "He activated something. A pulse. It killed my squad's drones. It confused our targeting. Then the ground began to move. The sleepers woke early." Elias stared at the floor as if he could see the monster beneath. "So a human triggered them." "Yes," she said. "On purpose. Not as a weapon against us, but as a warning." Elias closed his eyes. Somewhere out there, a human engineer had looked at impossible odds and still tried to outsmart an alien plan older than the war itself. That was humanity. Not stronger muscles. Not bigger ships. Ideas. Stubborn, reckless ideas. Elias opened his eyes again, decision forming like a spark. "We're going to that beacon," he said. Serin stared. You will die. Maybe, Elias replied. But if that engineer's device is real, it's the only chance to stop these things. Not just for humans. For everyone. Seren's grip tightened again, but now it felt like fear mixed with hope. You would risk yourself, for my species too. Elias gave a tired half-smile. Don't make it weird. I'm mostly doing it because I don't want to be eaten by a planet. Seren's lips twitched. Another almost laugh. The transport shook suddenly. A scraping sound rolled along the hull. The World Eater had stopped directly above them. Seren's eyes widened. It senses us. Elias grabbed the emergency power cell and jammed it into the panel. The interior lights flickered once, then died again, but the panel sparked to life long enough to show a warning symbol. Thermal leak. The foam seal was cooling unevenly. Their cold packs were weakening. The monster's fins scraped again, closer, like a blind hand searching for a heartbeat. Elias looked at Seren. We move now, he whispered. Quiet. Fast. No heat bursts. Seren nodded, and for the first time, she shifted her hand in his, not just holding on, but aligning with him. Like a partner. Elias peeled back part of the foam seal just enough to slip out. The night air hit them like a blade. They stepped into darkness where the stars looked too distant to care. The beacon pulsed ahead. And behind them, the earth rippled. The monster had found the scent. Elias didn't run yet. Instead, he did the most human thing possible. He looked at a hopeless situation, and chose to be clever. He grabbed a broken fuel line from the transport, twisted it around a battery pack, and rigged it to spark. A crude heat bomb. He tossed it far to the left. It ignited with a flare of warmth. The ground lunged toward it instantly, the fins slicing that direction like a missile. Elias exhaled. See, he whispered. Human foam. Human tricks. Seren stared at him like she was seeing humanity for the first time. Then she squeezed his hand and whispered, almost to herself. Creative, and impossible. Elias didn't correct her. They moved toward the beacon together, the war behind them, the unknown ahead, and a sleeping nightmare beneath the soil that humans had just fooled with scrap, courage, and one stubborn idea. The beacon pulsed like a heartbeat in the dark. Elias and Seren moved in short bursts, pausing between shattered stones, keeping their breathing slow, their bodies as cold as they could manage. The planet's night was not friendly. Thin winds carried dust that tasted like metal. Far away, lightning crawled across the horizon without thunder, as if the sky was speaking in silent anger. Behind them, the ground still rippled sometimes, but the World Eater had taken the bait. For now. Elias watched Seren's face as she limped. She was hurting badly, but she refused to show weakness. The Vilari had been trained for pride the way humans were trained for hope. Yet every few steps, she squeezed his hand, small, quiet signals that she was still there, still fighting. They reached a low crater filled with broken equipment. A human escape pod lay on its side, half crushed, its outer shell peeled open. The beacon came from inside. Elias raised his rifle and approached cautiously. Then a voice rasped through the darkness. Careful. If you shoot me, you'll regret it. Not because I'm important, because I'm expensive. Elias froze. A man crawled out of the pod, dragging one leg that clearly didn't work right. He wore a torn engineer suit with a cracked helmet hanging from his belt. His face was smeared with ash. A small drone floated beside him, badly damaged, spinning in confused circles like it was drunk. The man lifted his hands slowly. Name's Juno Rask, he said. Civilian engineer. Professional troublemaker. Elias blinked. Juno, is that you? Seren stiffened beside him. Her ears rose sharply. You, she whispered. The keymaker. Juno looked at her and sighed like someone who had stepped into a problem he didn't want to explain. Yeah. That's me. Great. Of course the Vilari found me again. Elias lowered his rifle slightly but kept it ready. You triggered the sleepers, Elias said. On purpose. Juno nodded. Not the full wake. Just a stutter. Enough to prove they were there. Enough to scare your command. And theirs. Seren's eyes narrowed. You killed my unit. Juno's gaze hardened, but his voice stayed quiet. Your unit came to take me alive so your leaders could break what I built. I'm sorry about your unit. I am. But I'm not sorry I didn't let you win. Elias stepped forward. What did you build? Juno smiled, and it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a human who had stared at something bigger than fear and decided fear didn't get the final vote. A question, he said. Elias frowned. A question. Juno pointed down at the ground. These world eaters. They aren't Vilari tech. Not really. Your war didn't make them. It just woke them. Seren's voice was tense. They are ancient. Our myths say they come from the first Sky Kings. Juno nodded. Exactly. Someone seeded them across worlds a long time ago. Someone who didn't want anyone else to grow too strong. Elias felt cold spread in his chest that had nothing to do with the night. So, we're fighting each other, and the real enemy is whoever planted those things. Juno's eyes sharpened. You're learning fast, soldier. He reached into the pod and pulled out a small device the size of a human hand. It looked simple, too simple, just metal, crystal, and a spinning ring of light that hummed softly. Seren leaned forward, fascinated despite herself. That is what you used. Juno nodded. This doesn't control them. It doesn't command them. It doesn't kill them. Elias's shoulders fell. Then what does it do? Juno held it out between them like an offering. It asks them a question they weren't built to answer. The ground trembled lightly, like it had heard its name. Elias stared at the device. What question? Juno's voice softened. Why? Seren looked confused. That is not a weapon. Juno gave her a tired look. That's what your leaders said too. And that's why they'll lose. Elias turned to Juno. Explain. Fast. Juno nodded once. World eaters are simple creatures. They're not dumb. They are focused. Their whole existence is one command: remove life when it becomes loud. Stop civilizations before they become threats. He tapped the device. This uses human pattern logic, broken, messy, creative logic. It doesn't say stop. It doesn't say fight. It says, why are you doing this? Seren's eyes widened. Machines do not answer why. Exactly, Juno said. So they stall. They loop. They hesitate. And in that hesitation, they become vulnerable. Elias felt a surge of something fierce and bright. So we can kill them when they freeze. Juno shook his head. Not with guns. Not with bombs. That's what the creators expected. They built these things to survive war. He pointed to the horizon, where lightning crawled again. But freezing them gives us time. Time to do what humans do best. Elias leaned in. Which is? Juno's smile returned. Build something that shouldn't work, and make it work anyway. Another tremor rolled under their feet, stronger this time. Seren's ears snapped back. It is coming. Juno cursed under his breath. Yeah. It heard the beacon. It's tracked the heat trails. It's close. Elias looked around. They were exposed. No cover except broken scrap. No ship. No bunker. Juno glanced at Elias, then at Seren's injured leg, then at their hands still joined. He shook his head in disbelief. You two are holding hands in the middle of a war. Elias didn't let go. Don't start. Juno snorted. Fine. Whatever keeps you alive. He shoved the device into Elias's palm. You hold this. Elias gripped it carefully. The ring of light spun faster as if it recognized a living mind. Seren stared at it, then at Elias. If you use that, you will be seen. Elias nodded. Better than being eaten. The ground exploded behind them. The World Eater surged up, massive and terrifying, its limbs unfolding like a nightmare flower. Its eyes flared as it detected them. The air filled with a humming pressure that made Elias's teeth ache. Seren gasped. Juno grabbed a broken antenna pole and slammed it into the dirt. "Do it now, soldier." Elias raised the device. The ring of light expanded, projecting a thin beam into the creature's plated face. A sound hit the air, low and strange, like a chord played backward. The creature stopped. Not because it was afraid. Because it was confused. Its limbs trembled. Its eyes pulsed rapidly. The ground beneath it rippled like liquid as it tried to compute something it had never been forced to compute. A question. Why? The creature's body began to shake harder. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't retreating. It was thinking. Elias felt his heart slam against his ribs. It's working. Juno's eyes burned with urgency. Now! While it loops. Elias looked around wildly. With what? We can't kill it. Juno pointed upward. We don't kill it. We change the game. He slapped the damaged drone beside him. This thing still has a transmitter. Short range. But enough. Elias understood in a flash. Human comms were down. Vilari comms were hostile. But a signal was a signal. A broadcast, Elias whispered. Juno nodded. To everyone. Humans and Vilari. Both sides. Right now. Seren stared. They will not listen. Elias looked at her. Then we make them. He grabbed the drone, ripped off its cracked casing, and rewired it with the emergency power cell from the pod. Juno worked one-handed, fast, like his fingers were built for miracles. Elias fed power, patched circuits, force connection. Sparks flew. The drone hummed. Then its signal light turned solid. Ready. Elias spoke into it, voice shaking but strong. This is Corporal Elias Ward, Earth Coalition, he said. If anyone can hear me, humans, Vilari, anyone, listen. The World Eaters are not your weapon. They are not your ally. They were planted here to destroy us both. We have a way to stop them, but we need cooperation. If you keep fighting each other, you will feed them until there's nothing left. He looked at Seren. Tell them, he said. Seren hesitated. Her pride warred with survival. Then she stepped forward, still holding his hand, and spoke into the drone. Her voice was clearer than before, sharp like truth. I am Seren Vilari, she said. I confirm. Our high command seeded sleepers. We believed we controlled them. We do not. We have been used. If you do not unite, all worlds will fall silent. The drone boosted the message, sending it out like a flare into the night. Somewhere far away, someone would hear. Elias hoped. The World Eater convulsed again, its loop intensifying. Its limbs dug into the soil. Its eyes flashed. It was trying to reject the question like poison. Juno grabbed Elias's shoulder. We can't keep it stalled forever. We have minutes. Elias's mind raced. Then what's the plan? Juno pointed at the creature. We teach it a second question. Elias blinked. Second question. Juno's smile was fierce now. Pure human madness. If it can be forced to ask why, he said, then it can be forced to imagine what if. Seren stared, confused. What if is not logic? Exactly, Juno whispered. It's creativity. It's the one thing these ancient control systems never predicted. Elias felt something rise in him, hope like fire. Not because they were stronger. Not because they had better ships. But because humans could do the impossible thing, make a machine dream. The World Eater shook violently, caught between its old command and the new concept tearing through it like lightning. Elias tightened his grip on Seren's hand. And she squeezed back, no longer desperate. Determined. Together, human and alien stood before an unstoppable monster. And instead of shooting it, they challenged it to think. To question. To change. To become something new. And in that moment, the war between humans and Villari suddenly felt small. Because the real battle was not for territory. It was for the future of every mind that dared to ask, what if?